Greetings and salutations everyone, Crimson Nero here, and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy. In the last episode, we took on the Citadel of Trials after getting ourselves an airship, and we have obtained the Rat's Tail. In this episode, we have something major to do here in the Dragon Caves! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh, it's dark in here. Hey, look at all these swords. Oh, those were so. Oh my gosh, that's a big dragon!
Long has it been since men of courage stood before me. Your bravery would seem worthy of consideration.
Let me just moonwalk back a little bit.
The rat's tail you carry is a fitting token of courage and strength. So be it. I shall honor you with titles befitting your valor.
Oh man, we get cool titles. Awesome. Oh man, he's looking at us with his magic wings. And we got pink sparkles. I could rock it. Whoa! Oh my gosh! We look completely different! We look different because we just got job promotions! Let's check out those stats. I have become a knight! Sam has become a ninja! Jacqueline has become a white wizard! And Cyrus has become the black wizard! Yes! Alright, so... while it may seem small with little tiny 2D sprites from a game that's from over 30 years ago, trust me when I say this, that the job promotions in Final Fantasy I is absolutely excellent and nobody can tell me otherwise. I mean, yes, there are other games that have done job promotions and different jobs and prestige and such and such, but Final Fantasy I, some good stuff. So yes, with these new titles and jobs under our belt, there are a bit of changes that happen. Such as, because I have become a knight, I am now suddenly proficient in using white magic. So, looks like I can buy myself some white magic spells here in Cornelia. You know, level 1 stuff. So, even though I'm not nearly as proficient in white magic as Jacqueline is, I can still do things like, you know, heal up the party, cast some buffs, you know, a few things here and there. On the opposite side of the coin, we have Sam. Sam has become a ninja. A ninja is just a way better thief. Same benefits as the thief, but in addition... oh, by the way, that hooded figure right there is for kind of like some extra dungeon post-game stuff that they added into the PSP version. Maybe the GBA version? I can't remember. But yeah, that's just extra content that we won't be covering. I'm just doing the base story of the game. Anyways, so... just like I am proficient in white magic all of a sudden, Sam is able to use black magic. Now, when I say that neither one of us is as proficient in either white magic or black magic as much as Jacqueline and Cyrus are, what I'm saying is that by the end of the game, Sam and I will be able to use basically up to level 4 of our respective type of magic. So we'll be able. I'll be able to cast like Cura and a couple other things, maybe like Null Blaze and Null Ice and stuff like that. Maybe like Invis or a few other buff spells. But I won't be able to access some of the really high level stuff that Jacqueline will have access to, especially in a few more levels. Same goes for Sam. Sam will be able to cast things like Fire, Phyra, haste, stuff like that. You know, pretty early level, but still really helpful things. But he won't be able to access things like Firaga and Quake and Death and stuff like that. That you know, high level black magic spells that Cyrus would totally be able to use in a few levels. But that's the trade-off. Is that I have a party that is balanced when it comes to speed, defense, high attack, magic defense, and magic attack. And being able to access higher level stuff, or accessing more spells, just means that our party composition is just much more better suited for some of the harder encounters that come towards the end of the game. Jacqueline and Cyrus, they're going to be able to access level 6, level 7, and level 8 magic, white and black magic. Which is fantastic. Trust me, like, some of the absolute... not some of... The actual best spells of the game, minus probably Temper, honestly, and Haste. With the exception of those two spells, Jacqueline and Cyrus will be able to cast, like, really high-level things like Firaga, Quake, Full Life, stuff like that. As well as some really cool things later on, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. We still got some levels to go before they get that and those spells. But yeah, for right now, let's just make sure that Sam and I are properly equipped with our spells. Or our spells. And then once we finish up with our errand running, we will actually be able to proceed with the rest of the game's story, actually. The game really opens up once you beat Lich. Because once you do that and you gain access to the rest of the world map, everything opens up. And it opens up even further once you get the Levy Stone and the airship. Because we've already taken care of the Citadel of Trials and the large dragon that gave us our prestige. By the way, his name is Bahamut. I completely forgot to mention that, but yes, Bahamut is an actual dragon. Mentioned countless times in the realms of role-playing games, ranging from Dungeons and Dragons to Bahamut Lagoon on the Super Famicom to Final Fantasy. Like, he's all over the place in Final Fantasy. Trust me. Bahamut is actually one of my favorite dragons in most things. He, at least in Dungeons and Dragons, he is a lawful good dragon god who stands for all that is good and just in the universe. And in Final Fantasy, he is seen as, depending on what game you're playing, he is seen as one of the absolute. He's pretty much almost always seen as one of the absolute strongest beings there is in the game, and he can be both an absolutely indescribably powerful ally, as well as an extremely powerful enemy, as we've learned with games like Final Fantasy XIV. But that Bahamut dealt with a lot of stuff. A lot of bad stuff, honestly. But yeah, we're here in Mount Gulg, and like I mentioned when we were in the ice cave, Mount Gulg has lava tiles that when you step on them, you take damage. However, you do not get into any random encounters while you are on those tiles. There aren't any, I'm pretty sure there aren't even trap tiles on those. It's only on stable ground, which is great because, you know, it'd kind of be a pain in the butt to just suddenly be walking on, you know, spikes of, like ice spikes, or, you know, just molten lava, and then suddenly, oh hey, I've been damaged quite a bit from just walking on this really hazardous terrain, and now suddenly I have to get into an encounter. That would be kind of bothersome. But yeah, Mount Gulg is actually not that long if you just go straight from the entrance all the way down to the boss. It is actually pretty easy to just run as fast as you can, just bypass everything and get to the boss in not that much time at all. It is actually Mount Gulg, with the exception of the Chaos Shrine when you fight Garland, is probably the easiest and shortest of the 4 Elemental Fiends dungeons, or pretty much almost any dungeon, honestly. Because the way that it's set up is that even though there are 5 floors, and yes, even though there is hazardous terrain in the form of the lava, the thing is that you can you can technically kind of take multiple paths to go and either go straight to the next floor, or you can go kind of a roundabout way in order to get treasure and fight enemies and to kind of bypass some of the hazardous terrain. But if you just want to go straight forward, then there's just lava in your way. That's it. You just walk on top of it and then just keep going. It's really not that particularly bad. Also, as going back to what I was saying about the game opening up once you defeat Lich and get the airship, now that we're done with getting the airship and we can go basically wherever we want, and we've also done pretty much the biggest side quest in the entire game, now that that's all done, we can pretty much just go ballistic and just constantly make progression in the story. There in the next 2 dungeons that we have to do, there is a little bit of extra stuff we have to do in order to either progress in those dungeons or to actually just access them in the first place, as you'll see later on. But honestly, Mount Gulg is really straightforward. You enter it, and you come out either when you need to go back to town and heal, or when you're done with it. It's easy and straightforward to go through, you know, a few winding paths here and there, but that's really just for a lot of the extra stuff and then some of the lower floors. But you don't have to, you enter it once and you really don't have to come back out of it until you're done, unlike the Earth Cavern. And there's really not that many like extra items or stuff that you are required to have like in later dungeons. So just overall, Mount Gulg it's pretty much the easiest. I would say it's the easiest of the 4 major dungeons of the 4 Elemental Fiends. Oh yeah, another thing that I should mention is the fact that ninjas are able to equip a lot more of the same equipment that the knights are able to use. So there's a lot more overlap in terms of like whenever you get an upgrade, you just kind of pass things along to between characters. So if I got a really good sword for myself, then I could just take whatever I was currently holding and I could typically just give it to Sam and it would totally work. Also, what's really cool at this point is the fact that I'm using an ice sword, Sam's using a fire sword, which in a lot of games past Final Fantasy I would realize, oh hey, fire enemies, they should not take damage to fire. Or just take resisted damage. But in Final Fantasy I, it's just like, oh hey, you want to throw fire at a thing made entirely out of fire? Oh, that's fine. Go for it. Things were simpler. Much more simple back in the day. But yeah, anyways, so my favorite, not my favorite thing, but just like a really cool thing I like is when ice and fire kind of are used in tandem with each other. And so the fact that I'm using an ice blade and Sam's using a fire blade just makes me happy. I especially like it when there's, like, like, two weapons that you use at the same time, one of them being ice, one of them being fire, or just, like, some combination of just two elements on two different weapons that you use at the same time. Heck, it doesn't even have to necessarily have the element. Maybe it's just a color difference. I can think of things like Agni and Rudra, the twin swords that you get in Devil May Cry 3, or the special swords that Lloyd Irving uses in Tales of Symphonia, or even the fire and ice blades in Monster Hunter. Just, I really like any sort of combination of two elements working together, but being used on, like, either by two different people or used in just two different hands by two different weapons. Just, I don't know, it's a small thing, but I really like it. And hey, sometimes that's all you need. It's just the small little good things. Just those little nuggets of goodness. Am I describing life in itself, or am I describing dessert? Man, these guys are kind of bulky if they can withstand a Fyra. Nice critical, Sam. Good. I need to heal this poison. Only to immediately just go and step on lava. You know, the usual. Hey, but I got a level out of that. Worth it. I'm pretty sure I will be able to use Poisona because, oh man, I keep forgetting whether knights and ninjas are able to access level 3 or level 4 magic in their respective branches. I don't remember. Alright, hopefully... Ah! Alright. Wow, that's a lot of chests. Looks like somebody's been hoarding. That is a big worm. But it's a dead worm. Giant undead lava worm. That sounds terrifying, but also really, really cool. Huh. You know, sometimes my brain can just come up with the just supposedly dumbest sounding stuff, and yet at the same time, though, it instantly becomes just so dumb it could totally work. You know, these gray oozes here don't really look very gray. They look a lot more blue to me. But then again, everyone's perception of color can be drastically different. Especially if people have color blindness. Actually, those shades of colors that they use for the gray slimes are actually really nice. I like those. I like those shades of blue. Ah, yes, just go up to a being made entirely out of fire and just hit him with a flame sword. That totally works. Like I said, Final Fantasy I was made at a simpler time. Wow, these Horned Devils do not have that much HP. Yeah, they have like barely over 100 HP, or at least that's all I need to do in terms of damage. I don't even... Heck, they might not even have 100 HP. I haven't checked the bestiary in... I don't even know how long. That's how unimportant it is. Really, like, the only time you really need to actually check the bestiary, for any, or, like, check the stats of any monster in Final Fantasy 1, it's pretty much the bosses, but you would only gain access to those stats after you fight the boss, so if you're gonna look up any stats online, I guess, then it would just be for the bosses. And really, just all you would really look at is just how much health that an enemy has. Wow, that was a lot of damage. It's really nice to have prestige characters now. I can't remember when they introduced prestige into Dungeons & Dragons. They, at the very least, they had it back in 3.5 edition. I think they got rid of it in either 4th or 5th edition. But then again, some people really like doing multi-classing. I don't have that much experience with multi-classing, but I can see how there's a lot of interesting combinations that you can get. But then again, I mean, hey, it's just really cool to have a character who's just really good at one specific thing, or you can have a character who's more of a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none thing. Like, I mean, hey, take the Red Mage, for example. Really good in the early game, and kind of teeters off towards the end, because of the fact that just the Red Mage's spells just aren't nearly as powerful as the White Mage or the Black Mage's, but the Red Mage can basically do a bit of everything. He can attack with heavy. He can equip and he can equip better armor like the thief and the fighter, as well as gain access to the same types of weapons that they use. And they also can cast white and black magic. I mean, hey, I've seen some runs of Final Fantasy where they have a red mage who's basically almost exclusively a white mage, and then they also have a red mage who's also basically like a black mage. So, I mean, hey, anything's possible. Then again, anything's possible in this game in terms of party comms, so much so that I've seen runs of just 4 white mages. Some people say, oh, that'll never work. I've seen it happen. It's kind of crazy. It's a lot easier to do in, it's kind of easier to do in some of the later ports of Final Fantasy, but, I mean, hey, it is possible. For me, it really depends on the game. Sometimes I say, hey, let's play Final Fantasy 1, and then I'll just have a very well-balanced party. And then in other games, it's like, oh, hey, despite the fact that this is totally not well-balanced at all, it's a fun party comp with really cool characters, and I don't care what you say. Also, having multiple party members is that you can kind of switch out in order to tackle different challenges. That's also pretty fun. It's like, oh hey, I don't necessarily have to have the best active party, but if things go south and I need to switch people out, then hey, that's totally possible. Adapting to any situation. That's a good methodology sometimes in certain RPGs. Man, that is a hungry-looking lava worm, considering there's like drool and stuff coming off of his mouth. Hey, Sam leveled up! More lava worms! Hey, they have the same type of thing that the Gigas worms have, where like their mouth is open, so they're just like, hi! Hello! Hey, Jacqueline and Cyrus leveled up. Nice. I really haven't been paying as much attention to their strong and weak level ups throughout this Let's Play, but hey, a level up is good no matter how many points you get. Then again, Fire Emblem players would probably call me out on that comment. Yeah, Fire Emblem's a bit different because you need those stats. Alright, basement level 5. We're getting really close to the end here. Hey look, another fire lizard. Hey, they also have like the like mouth open thing. They're just like, hello! Oh my gosh, and they suddenly sound like Toad from Mario, except for just a little bit deeper. Oh! Oh wow! They gave me a lizard and now I have to fight a dragon. Ow, that was a lot of damage that he did to me. Yeah, also, I think Blaze is also another type of, I think Blaze is another type of attack that it has two different types of, like, animations, but they're like there's two different attacks based off Blaze that do the same, and have the same name. So like if you look at like Pokemon or something, you'll see that like, oh hey, Flamethrower is completely different from how Fire Blast works. Rather than saying like, oh hey, there's two different types of Pokemon moves that are both called Fire Attack. I don't know, I couldn't come up with anything creative without actually calling a fire move, a Pokemon fire move by its actual name. Oh, how about this? Inferno. Let's go with that. I know, it's not the most creative. Alright, so, here we are! Let's just take a second to prep ourselves. And then we shall take on the Elemental Fiend of Fire! So, you are the ones who defeated the Fiend of Earth and roused Marlith from her slumber. Wakey wakey eggs and bakey? That is not the response I wanted. The power of the burning flame is mine and mine alone. Those who would oppose me shall burn in hellfire! Alright, boss time! Against Marlith! Man, she's got a lot of arms. And each one has a sword in it? Oh, that's cool. Also, this is a different battle theme than the one from the one that we heard when we fought the Lich. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier or not, but with more and more versions of Final Fantasy that came out over the years, more and more music was added. I think that in the original Final Fantasy there was only in terms of battle music, there was only the traditional enemy encounter theme and maybe one boss theme, but I could be wrong about that. It could have been just one fight music for the entire game, bosses included. In later versions, they were like, hey, let's make it so that bosses have music, and there's two different types of boss music, and then there's also the final boss's theme. Actually, no, wait, no. There would be, let's see, there's a theme for, okay, so there's two Elemental Fiend boss tracks, and the final boss track, and then all the regular boss track, so that's 4 total, and then an enemy boss track, so that's at least 5 different battle themes that we can listen to throughout this version of Final Fantasy. I mean, heck, there probably are actually more boss themes depending on if they added any additional ones to the bonus dungeons. Actually, yeah, they would have, considering that some of those bosses are actually references to other Final Fantasy games, so they probably just used those bosses' original battle themes. Yeah. Interesting. And with that, we defeated Marlith with, like, very little hassle. I mean, hey, just use your buffs, especially Temper. Now that we have two different people who can use it between Sam and Cyrus. Look at that red crystal, it's all pretty. And with that, we have restored the elemental crystal of fire! And just like when we defeated the Lich, we also gain access to an extra bonus dungeon, which I'm not going to do. But with that said, we are finished with Mount Gulg! So, that's gonna wrap things up for this episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy. In the next episode, we're gonna be going off to new adventures as we go towards the next elemental temple, and also take care of some other things that are needed to access said temple. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and we'll leave that for the next episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy. I'm Crimson Nero. Thank you very much for watching this episode, and until next time, everyone, fare thee well.